Hi, it's Annette, and I have a huge favor. As you know, we're creating the Millionaire Insider Money course, and I need your help. We want this to be the absolute best money resource available. And to do that, I need your input. Where do you need support? And what can we provide so that you have a complete money and mindset transformation that changes you and your family's life forever? I know that's a big ask, but that's what we want to do. And to do that, we need your support. So if you would take a minute, answer just a couple of questions at themillionaireinsider.com/MCI, we would really appreciate it. All right, let's dive into today's episode. So, one of the biggest fears about retirement isn't the market, it isn't taxes, it's what happens when the paycheck stops. For decades, your paycheck has been your foundation. Most people get it every 2 weeks. It pays the mortgage, utilities, groceries, travel, and everything else. But retirement changes that rhythm. Today, people are healthier, and with medical advances, they're living longer. The US Census Bureau projects that the number of Americans reaching age 100, which is known as the Century Club, is going to quadruple in the next 3 decades. I mean, just think about that. Living 20, 30, or even 35 years in retirement is becoming more common. And the great news is you're going to have more time to spend with family, to travel, to enjoy your hobbies, really do whatever you love. But the downside of that is how can you ensure you have enough money? And that's where lifetime guaranteed income comes in. In this episode, you're going to learn how guaranteed lifetime income actually works and how to create a plan that replaces your paycheck in a way that feels sustainable and leaves you feeling calm. So you're not feeling overwhelmed or worried. And there's like 78% of people that are constantly stressed because they're so worried about money. They did a research where like over 80% of people were more worried about running out of money than they were dying. I mean, guys, it's a serious issue. So if you've ever thought about that, or maybe now you are thinking about that, today's episode is going to solve that. All right, I want to give you a free resource to calm some of your concerns, and it's our retirement readiness quiz. You can learn which stage you're at in the retirement preparation. Go to themillionaireinsider.com/RRQ. You're going to answer a few questions, and what we're going to do then is give you the stage you're at and what the next best step and action you need to take to achieve your goals. So again, themillionaireinsider.com/RRQ. And the reason we did that is because there's basically 3 stages, and we found a lot of people really didn't know. Now, it's ideal if you're doing it before retirement, but if you're not, you can still take it, and it's going to give you a gauge of what you're doing, what you need to do, so that you can fix it before it becomes a problem. For today's show notes, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/154. The Millionaire Insider copyrights all materials and intellectual property. This information is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide any investment, financial, tax, retirement planning, or healthcare advice. By accessing this content, you agree to hold the Millionaire Insider and its affiliates harmless for results achieved or not achieved. So before we dive into the 3 steps to replace your paycheck with guaranteed lifetime income, I want you to accept a reality that oftentimes is the elephant in the room. It's virtually impossible to rely solely on the government for your retirement, your employer, the stock market, or even your partner. You've got to take ownership and take responsibility for your retirement. And the sooner you do that, the better. Now, you may say, well, gosh, my partner is the one that brings in most of the money. That's fine, as long as you have a plan and you know how that plan works. If you don't, or your partner says it's done, but you really don't know if it's done, you've got to take it into your hands, because those are the disasters I see where somebody's like, well, my partner said it was taken care of. And it's always the person that handles the money, right? Sometimes it's a wife, oftentimes it's a man, but it depends. But the reality of it is oftentimes it's not taken care of. And then when the person finds out about it, it's really too late for them to do anything about it. So please make that a priority and commit to doing that. All right, let's dive into these 3 steps. The first one is Social Security. Now, obviously, most people understand that Social Security alone is not going to be enough money for retirement. The average monthly paycheck is $1,900. And for most people, meaning the average population, it's less than 40% of their pre-retirement income. It's a major gap for retirees, and they've got to figure out how are they going to fill it. Are they going to fill it with investments, with savings, with annuities, with a corporate pension? But you got to figure that out. According to Nationwide Century Club Insights report, 83% of workers that are age 55 to 65 are worried about outliving their savings if they live to 100. And you say, oh my gosh, there's a lot more people who are going to live to age 100 because of the advances in medicine and the fact that we're now living healthier lives, many of us. There's a new study at Nationwide Retirement Institute and the American College of Financial Services. That study found that extending retirement by just 5 years, from 30 to 35 years, raised the risk of depleting savings by 41%, just by 5 years. That's just mind-boggling. Too many people underestimate how long they're going to live. And that was a quote by Michael Fink, who is a professor of wealth management at the American College. And I think a lot of us get that. A lot of people don't have any idea. They go into retirement and they don't really know. In addition to that, he shared that we consistently see that those who plan for longevity feel more confident about retirement, which again seems like a logical statement, but it's something just to consider and something to remember. All right, so let's talk about Social Security, because this is a change I have seen dramatically over the last really year. And it's amazing to me, but it's when do you take Social Security? It's one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. You can claim it currently as early as 62. Full retirement age is like 66 and 10 months, depending on your birth year. If you wait until 70, your benefit grows at approximately 8% a year after your full retirement. Now, again, things could have changed. Search it online. It's easy information you can get. The bottom line is if you wait, you're going to get more money. But not everyone's doing that. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. If you start early, your monthly check is going to be reduced forever. If you wait, your lifetime income base increases significantly. We're seeing more and more people take it early, even at 62, which I rarely agree that you should take it at 62, but we're seeing more of that. And it's because a lot of people are concerned it's not going to be there. It's scheduled to run out, and it depends on who you listen to, somewhere between probably 2032 and 2034. And what concerns me more than anything is the fact that no one's talking about it. Everyone kind of addresses it when they're running for office, but then once they get in, it's kind of like they forget about it. Kind of like the deficit. It's like, oh, they're so concerned about the deficit when they're running for office. Once they get in, not so much. It's like, wait a minute. It does concern me. Also, Medicare concerns me. It also concerns me that they've cut Medicaid, because Medicaid has always been the safety net that's there to protect you if you end up needing it. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's not me, or I don't want people abusing the system. Well, I don't think any of us want people abusing the system. And hopefully you want to, is a plan that in the event something doesn't work out as you planned, and God forbid you need additional support, you've got that safety net. Those are concerns. And that's why more and more people are taking their Social Security earlier. And I look at the numbers and I get it. If you take it early, or you're going to it takes you a while to accumulate the amount of money you would have gotten. And again, you've got to look at that. But my recommendation, number one, is to review your situation first and then determine what works. Don't just randomly decide to take Social Security. I've seen so many people just randomly decide to take it because they want to start getting Medicare. In some cases, it's been disastrous. So again, make sure you have a plan before you make any decision. Now, for married couples, this is really important because when the first spouse dies, the surviving spouse keeps the larger Social Security check. Now, typically that's been in the past the husband, but in some cases it's the wife. What ends up happening is now they have that higher amount for the rest of their life. So again, you've got to look at that. But the bottom line, it's better to coordinate all decisions, including Social Security, with your plan versus piecemealing it independently. Do this, then do that. So just make sure you're looking at your big picture. Now, one of the things I want to give you, and it's a free resource, is our retirement plan checklist. If you're considering retiring within the next 15 years, or you're already retired, I encourage you to download our retirement plan checklist at themillionaireinsider.com/RPC. This free resource is going to give you literally the A to Z of what you need to do to ensure a successful retirement. Again, you can download it at themillionaireinsider.com/RPC. It basically is a combination of like 84 years of experience of myself and other peers of mine on what you need to do to make sure you've got a successful retirement plan. And what I find a lot of times is people are like, gosh, I never even thought about that. Or, oh, wow, that's amazing. So again, it's free. You can download it at themillionaireinsider.com/RPC. The second option is a corporate pension. If you're fortunate enough to have a corporate pension, that's powerful, and it can be a great source of guaranteed retirement income. Most traditional pensions are protected under ERISA, which is the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, and they're backed by the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation. But there are limits on both, and often higher earners are not made whole. So you got to make sure that you understand the guarantees of your plan and that you have a plan B if it's not protected. I've seen people who have put all their eggs in their pension only to lose a significant amount of it. So you've got to be really careful with that. I cannot stress that enough. But some great questions to ask about a corporate pension includes, how does this fit into my overall income plan, right? Does it cover basic need expenses like my housing, utilities, taxes, insurance? Does it cover any above that? If it doesn't, you may need to create an additional guaranteed layer, which we're going to talk about. So number 3 is purchasing guaranteed lifetime income. For many pre-retirees and retirees, they build additional guaranteed income through an annuity product, which is backed by an insurance company. There are 2 different approaches that are the most common. One is where you just give them a lump sum, and once you give it to them, it's gone, and they start paying you income for the rest of your life. The pros, it's simple, it's predictable, and it's guaranteed for life. But the cons are it completely lacks liquidity, and payments are fixed unless you have an inflation rider, which rarely do people have those on immediate annuities. One of the advantages is it obviously can cover essential expenses, but it can be disastrous if you need extra money from your principal. So again, something to be really aware of. Now, there's an indexed annuity, and you can get those where you have a lifetime income rider. Now, this strategy allows growth potential linked to a market index. So you're not going to be at the height of the market, but you have some upside potential so you can hedge against inflation. Your principal is protected, meaning you can't lose money. Now, again, you got to read the fine print. Generally speaking, that's how it works. Now, if you get into something like a RILA, it's a different story, but that doesn't generate guaranteed income. So again, you've got to understand what type of product you're purchasing, and more important, that you're using a fiduciary. I cannot stress that enough. A fiduciary has to act in your best interest, and it's critical that you use one when you are purchasing any investment product or hiring anyone to be your financial advisor. One of the other advantages is it provides a guaranteed income stream for you and your spouse's life. Plans can start paying out immediately, meaning you just want to start taking the money immediately, or you can defer the growth and start taking your lifetime income payments later. Now, depending on your situation, you may choose a combination starting now or waiting. All of that depends on your needs, meaning some people, they hit 62, they just want to check out. They want their money, they want to start living their life, and they want to start enjoying it. That makes me a little bit angst, thinking, my gosh, if you live to age 100, could it be a problem? However, some others say, okay, I want it in 5 years, and then others are 10 to 15. So again, you got to look at your situation. You got to look at your big picture, where all the money's coming from, and then you've got to create a plan, and then you've got to start buying products. That's the right course of action. For many people, they build it in layers. They have their Social Security, they've got their pension if it's available, then they buy their guaranteed lifetime income products that, again, depend on which type they're going to buy. And then they also purchase investments for growth and flexibility. Now, some people purchase investments to generate like dividends from the stock, and that's an option. But the difference is it's not guaranteed like the first 3. So you just got to take that into account. The guaranteed layers, Social Security, pension, and guaranteed lifetime income, are going to cover your need-based expenses. Now, again, that pension may or may not be fully guaranteed, so you got to look into that. The investment layer is going to cover the extras like travel, entertainment, gifting, unexpected healthcare costs, inflation protection, and fun, whatever you want to do. Now, when your basic lifestyle is covered by guaranteed income, something shifts. And I have seen this through my career. In fact, as I shared with you in a previous episode, I literally went back over the course of all my clients, 36 years, and I said, which ones were the most happy? Like, which ones were just like, they just never seemed like they were stressed. And I remember that a time in my life where I felt so overwhelmed and so stressed. I'm like, I want to know what they're doing. And I kid you not, the one thing they had in common, was crazy, was guaranteed income. Guaranteed income. And most of them had it from, for sure, Social Security. Some had pensions, and many of them had guaranteed lifetime income through an annuity. That, my friend, was like an eye opener. The ones that had enough in a pension and Social Security didn't need guaranteed lifetime income, right? Because it used to be you would actually generate more in your pension than you did earning in your job until companies realized this is insane. We can make a lot more money and we can just give our employees a 401k that basically they fund. So it's just so interesting. But the bottom line is they relax, they start enjoying their life. They stop watching 24/7 market updates. They stop worrying about running out of money. And that's what I love about guaranteed lifetime income is that you're not worrying about it. And I am so excited to know when ours starts. It's just so exciting. And I probably will defer mine as long as I can because the way they work is you get a roll up. So you get like X amount of dollars it's earning every year. And then the longer you wait, the more you get in your payout. So I'll probably look at that. But the bottom line is it's just so nice to know that I've got that. And so then all of our other money, we're not nearly as worried about because if you have all your expenses, pretty much all your expenses and more covering that, it doesn't matter what the stock market does, goes up, down, sideways. But as I mentioned, my clients worry less, they live longer, and they enjoy their life more. One of the best scenarios was one of my clients who literally, they had said that they expected she would pass away about 15 years before her husband. I'm like, wow. He passes away. She lived another 15 years. And she had a lot of health issues. And she was the happiest person I've ever seen. She had no stress. She enjoyed her life. And she had guaranteed income. It's just fascinating. Creating a plan changes everything. For 36 years, I've advised clients who are successful and capable. And yet oftentimes when it came to their retirement, they became very insecure. And before working with us, what I find is that most people don't have a plan and they have no idea if they're going to have enough money to afford their retirement. And I mean, what an unsettling feeling. But once they create the plan, then all of a sudden they know how much they can spend, when they can retire comfortably, what their income is going to look like, both from their need-based and want-based, and how the surviving spouse is going to be protected. That, my friend, is the power of a plan. And you can make your dream a reality by starting with that. But you got to create it. You got to take the time to create it. We're here to help you. We've got your back. Now, if you want help creating your plan or replacing your paycheck with guaranteed lifetime income, you can go to themillionairinsider.com/support. I personally feel every person deserves a retirement where their income feels steady, predictable, and they feel calm and like they can enjoy their life, like they're not worried about that. There's enough things going on in life to worry about. Your money, your monthly income is not one of them. And when you build a solid plan, you don't just secure your money, you secure your peace of mind, your freedom, your choices. So again, you can go to themillionairinsider.com/support. So there you have it. I want to thank you so much for joining me. This is Annette Bau. All international copyrights are reserved. Bye for now.